The iPhone 12s are now official. All 4 of them. I only have 3 mock-ups. They're not the actual iPhones yet. You know, it takes a while for those to ship, so no one really has those just yet. But the real question is, should you upgrade if you're coming from an iPhone 11, 10, 8, 7, 6S, and 6? And if it's actually worth upgrading, what improvements would you guys get over each of the previous generations? And I won't just be talking about the iPhone 12, I will also be covering the iPhone 12 Pros as well. So get those snacks ready, and here's everything you need to know in terms of upgrading from the previous models of the iPhone. So starting off with the design, from the front, the iPhone 10, 10s, 11, and 12, they all have a very similar design. The iPhone 12 does have much thinner bezels than the 11 did, and the 12 Pros also have slightly thinner bezels than the 11 Pros did. However, for the most part, from the front, all these iPhones look very similar. So unless you've had an iPhone 11, which had some really thick bezels out of all the notched iPhones, I don't think there's any reason to upgrade. Now, if you have an iPhone 8 or older, then definitely do upgrade. You no longer get any massive chin and forehead, aside from the notch, of course, so the improvements that you're getting are just massive. When it comes to the back, the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro, they both have a very similar back to the iPhone 11 and the 11 Pro. So that means a frosted glass back on the Pro models and a non-frosted glass back on the standard iPhone 12 models. So if you have an iPhone 11, there's no reason to upgrade just for the back. If you have an iPhone 10s or older, the main advantage that you will be getting is thanks to that frosted glass back, which doesn't leave any fingerprints, but that is only on the Pro models of the iPhone 12. Now, in terms of the frame of the phone, this is where we finally get to see some pretty significant changes. So all the iPhone 12 models have a flat frame, very similar to the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 4S and the iPhone 4 from back in the day. I'm actually a massive fan of this flat frame design, so for me at least, this is a very big reason to upgrade, even from the iPhone 11s. Now, another reason is actually the thickness, or the lack thereof. All the iPhone 12 models are 7.4mm thin, making them considerably thinner than the 8.3mm iPhone 11 and the 8.1mm iPhone 11 Pros. The iPhone 12 is also 30 grams lighter than the iPhone 11, so if you're coming from the 11 or the 10R, the 12 is actually a major upgrade in terms of how it feels in the hand. Now, another reason to upgrade to the iPhone 12 line is for the iPhone 12 mini. If you've been urging for a small form factor iPhone, well, the wait is finally over. The iPhone 12 mini is smaller than an iPhone 6, while having a larger 5.4-inch display compared to the 4.7-inch display that we had before. And of course, there's also the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is now even bigger, with a 6.7-inch display. Same thing here, if you've been a fan of massive smartphones, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is now even maxier. Moving on to the display, mine actually has, well, it's duct taped, so it's pretty broken. But anyways, moving on to the display. The big change here is that this year, all 4 iPhone models finally have an OLED display. So Apple switched to OLED back in 2017 with the iPhone 10. The 10s and 11 Pros also had an OLED display, but the iPhone 10R and the iPhone 11, they had an LCD panel. Same goes for the 2nd gen iPhone SE. And the difference between LCD and OLED is pretty massive. So OLED panels don't require a backlight, and because of that, the black levels are perfect, the energy consumption is lower, the contrast is pretty much infinite, the colors are more vibrant, and this is something that you'll notice right away if you're coming from a non-OLED iPhone. Any iPhone before the iPhone 10 was an LCD iPhone, so definitely do consider upgrading for that display. Then the resolution has also been increased on the iPhone 12 from the iPhone 11. So we now have a 460 ppi on the iPhone 12 versus 326 on the iPhone 11, 10R, and the iPhone 8, and all the previous models of the iPhone, non-plus ones. The plus ones have 401. So what this means is that text and images and basically everything you see on the display will be sharper and also easier to read. If you watch a lot of movies, then the iPhone 12s all support HDR content. Whereas not even the iPhone XS and the iPhone 10 do support that, only the 11 Pros did. So when it comes to the display, if you have an iPhone 8 or older, or an iPhone XR or an iPhone 11, then definitely do consider upgrading, as the improvements will be very noticeable. If you have an iPhone 10 or XS, only upgrade if you really care about HDR and a brighter 800 nit panel versus 625 on the iPhone 10 and XS. However, you would only get this brightness of 800 nits on the Pro models of the iPhone 12s. The standard ones, 12 and 12 mini, still have 625 nits of brightness. Right, moving on to the camera, this is where you'll see the biggest improvements. Apple massively improved the image quality with the iPhone 11s. So if you already have an iPhone 11, unless you're getting the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which offers you a 47% larger image sensor than even the iPhone 12 Pro, and therefore it is 87% better in low light than the iPhone even 12 Pro on the main module, you'll be fine with the iPhone 11's camera, as the sensors are basically identical, with the exception of a slightly larger f1.6 aperture module, which will provide you with 27% more light to the sensor. Now, from the iPhone 11s, we also get night mode time-lapse, night mode portrait mode on the Pro models of the iPhone 12 only. We also get night mode on the ultra-wide-angle module, also on the front camera. So if you care about night mode a lot, then even from the iPhone 11s, you could actually consider upgrading, to be honest. But I still think that overall, if you have an iPhone 11, the camera is still really, really good on the 11 in terms of daytime photos, so I personally wouldn't really upgrade. Now, if you have an iPhone XS or an iPhone 10, the iPhone 12s will offer you an ultra-wide angle module, night mode for significantly improved low-light shots, HDR video, and noticeably improved HDR processing when taking photos. And the front camera has also been significantly improved from the 10 and the XS, as it can now record in up to 4K 60 from 1080p. So pretty big jump there. So yeah, if you have an iPhone XS or an iPhone 10 or anything older, I would definitely consider upgrading to the iPhone 12s, any of the iPhone 12s, as we do get some pretty major camera upgrades. Obviously, there's a ton more, which I don't really have time to cover in this video in terms of the camera and everything else. So all you need to know for now is that if you have an iPhone XS or older, the camera is a major upgrade. And speaking of upgrades, you can upgrade yourself by subscribing to the channel, as you know, it's free, and you get some really high quality videos like this one hopefully is in return. Now, all of these upcoming phones are great and whatnot, but what if you're looking for the most affordable smartphones on the market right now? Well, Xiaomi wanted to sponsor this portion of the video in order for me to show you the brand new Redmi Note 9, a phone for £149 exclusively from 3 UK. And compared to the Samsung Galaxy A21s, one of the most well-known affordable smartphones on the market, the Redmi Note 9 has thinner bezels, it has Gorilla Glass 5 on the front, IP35 waterproofing, as well as a water-repellent coating on the screen, both of which the A21s lacks. The Redmi Note 9 also has a 6.53-inch Full HD Plus IPS LCD display compared to the 6.5-inch PLS TFT display on the A21s. And what this means is that the colors will be much more vibrant on the Redmi compared to the Samsung. For this price, you also get 128GB of storage and 4GB of RAM on the Redmi versus 32GB of storage and 3GB of RAM on the A21s. We also get a quad camera module, 48 megapixels on the main module, 8 megapixels ultra-wide, a 2 megapixel macro lens, and a 2 megapixel depth lens, as well as a 13 megapixel front camera. And with a massive 5020 mAh battery, 18-watt fast charging, as well as 9-watt reverse wireless charging, the Redmi Note 9 is one of the best deals that you can find in a smartphone. And on top of all this, the Redmi Note 9 is also more affordable, where it can be bought on pay-as-you-go for £149 exclusively with 3 UK. And you can also buy it on 3 UK through contract, with a £19 upfront cost, with the first 6 months at half price, so £10 a month. Check it out using the link below, and thanks again to Xiaomi for sponsoring this video. Moving on to the performance, the iPhone 12s all come with Apple's new A14 processor, which is the world's first CPU to be based on the smaller 5nm manufacturing process. So this offers about 20% more performance than the A13 inside the iPhone 11s, and the A14, according to Apple, is 50% faster CPU and GPU wise than the most powerful processors that you can find in Android smartphones today, which is the Snapdragon 865 Plus. Now, realistically, all iPhone models from the iPhone 10 onwards have been very, very fast and very fluid. So in terms of raw performance, if you have an iPhone 10 or an iPhone 8 or newer, there's no point in upgrading. If you have an iPhone 7 or older, definitely do consider, as the performance improvements are indeed pretty significant. The big upgrade this year is that the Pro models of the iPhone, they come with 6 gigabytes of RAM, whereas the non-Pro models of the iPhone, they still come with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, I personally had a lot of RAM management issues, even on my iPhone 11 Pro Max, where if I went back to an app that I just opened a few minutes ago, my iPhone would reload it from scratch, which was obviously quite inconvenient, especially when it came to apps like YouTube and I was in the middle of watching a video. So for me at least, 2 extra gigabytes of RAM will make a big difference on the iPhone 12 Pro models. The iPhone 10 had 3 gigabytes of RAM, so if you've had any RAM management issues with the iPhone 10 or any older models of the iPhone, then even the standard iPhone 12 models will be an upgrade, as those do come with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Storage-wise, the iPhone 12s come with 64 gigabytes as the baseline, which is the same amount of storage as the iPhone 11, the XS, and the iPhone 10. However, the iPhone 12 Pros, they come with 128 gigabytes of baseline storage, which is really the perfect storage for me. Like 256 was always way too much. I'm actually using about 120 gigabytes of storage, so I'm pretty happy that now we do have that option. And if you're coming from an iPhone that had 32 gigabytes of storage or even 16 gigabytes, then even the 64 gigabyte model of the iPhone 12 is going to be a really nice upgrade. I also think that 64 gigabytes is pretty fine for most people. Like 128 gigabytes is really only worth it if you plan on storing loads of movies. Keep in mind that photos and videos from iCloud, they will be stored in the cloud and automatically deleted from your device if you need more space. Okay, moving on to special features, is there anything unique to the iPhone 12 line that we didn't get on any of the previous iPhone models? Well, yes, there are actually quite a lot of features. So first of all, if we can even call this a feature, we do not get headphones or even a charger in the box. And even though I'm assuming that most of you already have an iPhone charger, you see the problem here is that I'm pretty sure very few of you have a fast charger. Like Apple only started shipping fast chargers for the iPhone with the iPhone 11's Pros actually last year. And how many people that have iPhone 11 Pros would actually upgrade to the iPhone 12s? Probably not a lot. Also, the cable that comes included with the iPhone 12s, yes, you at least get a cable. It's a Lightning to USB Type-C cable, but all the older iPhone chargers are USB Type-A, so you would be able to use that cable with that charger. So if you want to buy an actual charger, a really fast charger for cheap that you can use with the iPhone 12s, I've included a link to a really good one down below. I don't know, I just think that what Apple should have done with the whole charger solution is they should have, 1, dropped the price of the iPhone, 2, gave you a charger for free that you could claim afterwards if you really needed a charger, or 3, give you the option that at checkout you could put a charger in the box for free if you needed that. I just think that those would have been the best solutions, but Apple hasn't really done any of that, and it really sucks. Now, the next big thing that you're getting with the iPhone 12s is when it comes to MagSafe. And no, that's not, the MacBook charger, they renamed, so that's gone, and this is a new magnetic system that's built into all models of the iPhone, and it not only allows you to charge your iPhone wirelessly, faster than all the previous models with up to 15 watts of wireless charging via MagSafe, still 7.5 via Qi charging, but wireless chargers would automatically snap onto the back of the iPhone, which is pretty cool. And the snapping in place will also apply to cases, wallet attachments, and more accessories that third-party manufacturers will be selling. The iPhone 12s also feature what Apple's calling the world's most durable glass on a smartphone, with 4 times the drop resistance when compared to the iPhone 11 Pro's glass, which was already very durable. Like last year, Apple was calling that the most durable glass on a smartphone, and it was pretty durable. Not the most durable, but pretty durable. However, this only applies to the front glass and not the back glass. So the back glass could still crack. Now, of course, that we also have 5G, but unless you live in the US, you won't be able to take advantage of the super fast millimeter wave 5G speeds, those insane 1 gigabit per second speeds and higher, and instead you'll be limited to about 200 megabits per second max or so via sub 6 gigahertz 5G, which is the only one that's available outside the US. The iPhone 12 Pros also have a LiDAR scanner, which can be used for 3D mapping a room or certain objects. Then water resistance has been improved. We now have a 6-meter submersion resistance, for 30 minutes. The iPhone 11 Pros, they had 4 meters, and the 11 had 2 meters. The iPhone 10, 10R, 8 and 7, they had 1 meter. So yeah, if you plan on taking your iPhone into the swimming pool, then the iPhone 12s will be way more durable. But keep in mind that water damage is actually not covered under warranty, which is really, really strange. Like, Apple's telling you that, hey, you could actually bring those in the water with you. But I mean, if they break, which they shouldn't, but if they do break because of a manufacturing defect or something, then you will lose the warranty and you will have to pay for the repair, which I think is really, really messed up. Yeah, really, really messed up. Everyone does this. Still messed up. The iPhone 12, just like the 11s, also have an ultra-wideband chip, a U1 chip. Now, this isn't too useful at the moment, but they will be in the future as more and more smartphone accessories will appear on the market. And long story short, the accessories will be able to determine the exact location of your iPhone within a margin of error of a few centimeters. So if you're looking to get into the smart home territory in the future, then getting an iPhone 12 would be a nice future-proofing option. And if you're worried about your iPhone getting stolen, the iPhone XS or newer, they all have eSIM support. So what this means is that your iPhone also has a permanent SIM built into it. And then you can go into the settings and you can choose a plan. So yeah, long story short, that SIM cannot be removed. So as long as you activate the eSIM, as long as your iPhone is turned on, it will always be connected to the internet, which means that you can always track it no matter what. We also get Pro RAW support, so taking raw photos in the native camera app on the iPhone 12 Pros will indeed be possible. So if you're into editing your photos as much as possible, then this will allow you to preserve a lot of data. And speaking of interesting photography features, we also get Dolby Vision recording in HDR on the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro. 60 frames per second on the Pros, 30 on the non-Pros. So if you're into filmmaking, you probably have a professional camera, but if you don't, then the iPhones are a pretty good starting point. Now, if you have an iPhone XS or newer, you also get stereo audio recording for video, which older iPhones do not have. And from the iPhone 10 and 8 and newer, we also have 4K recording at 60 frames per second. So again, if you're into filmmaking, any of the iPhones 10 and newer, and even 8, they're all really good. But the iPhone 12s are quite a bit better in terms of colors and dynamic range than all the previous iPhone models. Not even to mention the improved speakers that we got with the iPhone XS. So as you can probably tell, there are a lot of special features that you'll be getting with the iPhone 12s, even if you're upgrading from the 11, but especially if you're upgrading from an iPhone 10 or anything older than that. And finally, what about the battery life? So, iPhones are pretty well known for having a really poor battery life, or at least up until the iPhone 11s. You see, the iPhone 11s significantly improved the battery life to the point where the iPhone 11 Pro Max, that phone had the best battery life out of any smartphone that I've tested. So yeah, it was absolutely incredible. Now, unfortunately, the iPhone 12s, they all have a smaller battery, these are the numbers by the way, than the iPhone 11s did. So in theory, the battery life should be a downgrade from the iPhone 11s, especially since we do have 5G now. However, since the iPhone 12s do support smart data, where the phones will be using 4G unless you're downloading an app or a movie where it needs 5G and it will automatically switch to 5G, and since the Apple A14 chip is also more power efficient than the A13 inside the 11s, I do believe that the battery life isn't going to be that much of a downgrade. Or it is even likely to be the exact same. However, I'm a bit concerned about how Apple completely omitted talking about the battery life entirely at the event, which does make me think that it could actually be a downgrade from the 11s. Otherwise, they would have said something like, oh, our phones are thinner, but they have the same battery life as the iPhone 11s, which were amazing, but they haven't said that, which means that I think they're not as good. But even if it is worse, it will still be better than the iPhone XS or any of the iPhones that we've had before, thanks to the power efficiency improvements of the Apple A14 processor. Now, something else that we do get here is wireless charging, which only the iPhone 8, 10, and newer have had. And we also get fast charging, which again, only the iPhone 8, 10, and newer have had, at least when it comes to charging up to 50% in just 30 minutes. The iPhone 6 also had kind of like fast charging, but it wasn't as fast as 50% in 30 minutes like the 8 and newer. Okay, so in the end, should you upgrade to the iPhone 12? That is the question. Well, if you have an iPhone 11, I would say no. If you have an iPhone XS or 10, only upgrade if you really care about that camera a lot. as that's really the biggest upgrade. Now, if you have an iPhone 8 or older, yes, you do get a lot of improvements in terms of not just the design, but also the display. You know, no bezels, you get the notch with Face ID, you get significantly better cameras, and all the special features that I mentioned before, plus so much more. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you will be upgrading to the iPhone 12, and if so, from which iPhone. And if you are upgrading, definitely do consider using our affiliate links below from Amazon. By the way, buying an iPhone from Amazon is actually better than buying it from Apple. Our customer support is just significantly better, and you get all the perks as if you bought it from Apple. And you can also support a channel by doing so, because we do get a commission from Amazon if you get anything using our links. So thank you for that. If you want to support the channel even further, definitely consider becoming a member by clicking on the join button down below. And yeah, this has been pretty much it for this one. Subscribe, hit the bell icon for more videos like this one. And definitely do check out our previous videos that we've done this week. Yeah, we did quite a few of them. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zenov Tech, signing out. Cheers.